Hi guys! Today we're going to be going over my April TBR. I can't believe it's April already. This year is flying. I feel like I've been making sort of good progress with my Goodreads goal of the year, but there's still so many books I want to read. I'm just gonna jump right into this. I don't think this is like quite as crazy as previous TBRs have been, but I do have a couple chonkers in here, so we'll see how it goes, but this is everything I'm hoping to get to this month. Starting off with the buddy read for the month, we have Pachinko by Minjin Lee. Stephanie and I have been talking about reading this one for a while. The TV show on Apple TV, I believe, has started to come out. I don't know if they released the full show or not yet, or if it's a weekly thing. I don't have Apple TV, but I would love to watch that. I don't know. There's too many streaming services now, but I definitely want to read the book first. This is sort of an epic family saga. I've heard it's really intense. It starts off with a couple having a child, and then when she falls pregnant by a married yakuza, the family faces ruin. But then a Christian minister offers a chance of salvation, a new life in Japan as his wife. Again, I've heard this is really intense, so I'm not totally sure like if this is gonna make me cry or just feel really depressed, but I've heard excellent things about this book, and again, with the adaptation out, I definitely want to get to it before I watch the show, and I'm hoping it's beautiful. I don't know, I have really high expectations, so I'm hoping the reality can kind of meet that, but we shall see, and I'm really looking forward to reading this with Stephanie. Then, as part of my goal to sort of clear up my Goodreads want to read backlog, the book that is up next is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I really went back and forth between whether or not I should read this one or Circe first, but where this was published first, I'm just gonna go in publication order. This is a retelling of Achilles and Patroclus from the Trojan War. If you know, you know. I'm curious to see her spin on it. This will be the first piece of fiction by Madeline Miller that I've read, and I'm really excited. She's a very hyped author, and I really like Greek mythology, so I'm curious to see how like closely this follows the original myth, or if we're just sort of expanding on it. I don't know, but I've heard great things. I've heard it'll make you cry. TikTok loves this book. I've been burned before, but I have faith that this one is going to be good. I'm pretty sure Madeline Miller is was a classics major or something, so like she knows her stuff. And yeah, I'm really excited to get into this one, and I'm really excited to have a cathartic cry, I guess. Next up, we have some books that I've been wanting to get to for a while, and I got approved for an arc of the sequel before I even read the first one. So this month I'm going to try to read both books 1 and 2 so I can write a review for the arc that I was so kindly given. And the first book in that is The Shadow of the Gods by John Gwynne. The second book that I got approved for an arc for is The Hunger of the Gods. I don't know why I applied for it. I thought for some reason that book was coming out later and I'd have more time to read this one first. It comes out like next month, so or this month rather, because it's April now. But yeah, here we are. I've been wanting to read this one for a while. I think this is the last book on my anticipated 5-star reads list that I haven't gotten to. It's been on my radar for a while. I've really loved this cover for a really long time, and I've heard great things about it. I've been really curious to dive into John Gwynne, and I do want to read the series. It's not called the Malice series. I don't remember what it's called, but it starts with Malice. But I really want to kind of keep up with his more currently published books as well to kind of stay on the sort of in the know. But yeah, so this series is very heavily inspired by Norse mythology, and we have kind of like a Norse-like setting. It's multi-POV. I believe our characters eventually like converge paths. I don't know if they become like a D&D party or what, but there's also these really old gods, like beings, that are starting to awaken again, and I'm assuming wreak havoc on humanity. I've heard one particular point of view in this. Orca is amazing. I've heard great things about the way John Gwynne writes women, so that's really exciting. I think a lot of people have been there where you pick up a much hyped book and just buy a man, and the way that they write women is kind of cringy. So I'm hoping that the reputation this one has for being well written is true, because I'd really love to get into this. I love a good high fantasy story, and this one seems really cool. So excited to read this one, and then hopefully the sequel this month, but that's a lot. This one alone is like 482 pages. So we shall see. Another arc I was recently approved for, I think comes out a little bit later, it might be more like June, maybe May, is Juniperthorne by Ava Reed. This takes place in the same world as her previous book, The Wolf and the Woodsman, but I believe it is a standalone, and it is also a retelling of the Juniper Tree, I believe by the Grimm brothers. The Brothers Grimm, rather. Some of the trigger warnings I've seen for this book are intense, but the story sounds really cool. The blurb on NetGalley says, it follows a young witch seeking to discover her identity and escape the domination of her abusive wizard father. Perfect for fans of Shirley Jackson and Catherine M. Valente. So yeah, it seems cool. The cover is amazing, super moody. I love the sort of like folklore vibe it has. It definitely looks like an adaptation of like a Brothers Grimm story, so I'm really excited. Typically, I think I'd reserve a book like this for fall, but where I was approved for an arc, I should probably get to it sooner, and I would love to get to it this month, so very excited for that one. And grateful to NetGalley for approving me for arcs, even though I am terrible at keeping up with them. Then a fantasy that I've been wanting to get to for a while. I've been really excited about this ever since it's been published, and I got it for Christmas from my boyfriend Zach, so thank you, Zach. Hopefully I'm gonna get to it this month. But that is The Black Tongue Thief by Christopher Buehlman. And this one I've heard is really funny. Like the way that Christopher Buehlman writes his characters seems funny. The sort of setup seems funny. We follow a thief who is planning to rob the next traveler who crosses his path, but unfortunately that mark is a poor one, as she is a knight and the survivor of a brutal goblin war and a handmaiden to the goddess of death. So I believe his attempt to rob her goes awry, and they actually end up sort of joining forces for a common goal. This one, again, just sounds so fun. I believe this is book 1 of a series. Not sure how many books are intended to be in this series, but it seems really fun. And yeah, it's been on my radar for a while, so I want to finally get into it. This month is like honestly all about the fantasy, and I'm feeling it. I don't know why. I'm hoping that I can keep all these stories straight. We shall see. I think I'm going to be reading some heavy books this month, so this will hopefully be a nice dose of humor to lighten things up. Then we have a few recent releases that I'll be shocked if I get to all of these, but I'm so excited to read them. I'd be remiss to not include them on this TBR. And starting with V.E. Schwab's new release, Gallant. This is a little shorty. Of all of these, I am positive I will get to this one because I think I could do this in like 2 sittings. I have the audiobook also on hold from my library, and it's only like 8 hours, so this is doable. And this one is more of like a YA kind of middle grade Gothic story. I've heard it described as Crimson Peak meets The Secret Garden, which is like a mood. I believe there's like a creepy mansion and ghosts, and I love all of that, and I will read anything that V.E. Schwab writes. So I'm very curious to see how she tackles this, and really excited for a super moody, atmospheric read. Another standalone is A Far Wilder Magic by Allison Saft. I loved her previous release, her debut, Down Comes the Night. I blanked on the name for a second. This one is A Far Wilder Magic, and again is a standalone and involves like a hunter or a huntress and an alchemist teaming up to take part in a competition hunt for this like magical creature, and I believe in the process they fall in love, and I love a good fantasy romance. My friend Stephanie read this, gave it 5 stars, which is a glowing recommendation, and I really love just the atmosphere that Allison Saft injects in her stories, so I think this is going to be chock full of that, and again, I love a good romance, so I'm hoping this delivers. Then I would love to get to A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross. I've not read anything by Rebecca Ross. This is her first adult fantasy novel, and I've definitely been leaning more towards adult fantasy lately. Obviously, within this wrap up, I have a couple YA books, and like that's totally fine, but I've been a lot more picky about them. So I'm really excited to pick up her adult fantasy release and see what the hype is about, because I've heard a lot of good things about this book so far. It was the book of the month choice, I believe, for March or February. February, now that I'm thinking about it. It had a special edition release with Illumicrate. I've heard it compared to a lot of books that I really like, so I think this will be cool. It's sort of like a mystery fantasy romance involving childhood enemies who have to come together in order to solve the mystery of like these disappearing girls on their home island. I think that sounds really cool, and again, this month is a lot of very atmospheric reads, and even the cover of this one is quite moody and cool, so I'm hoping this one delivers on the hype. And finally, I would love to get to Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. This one has been on my radar for a while. It was an anticipated release of mine. This is the gorgeous Fairy Loot edition. I was so thrilled that they chose this for, I believe, their February pick. It is so gorgeous. The story just seems beautiful. It is inspired by Chinese folklore. It involves the daughter of the moon goddess, and she has to go like undercover in enemy territory to learn her powers, and ends up falling in love with the enemy's son. So there's like a forbidden romance element as well. And I love that. I've heard this has beautiful writing. I'm really excited to get into it. I've been itching to read this one since it came out, but I knew it was going to be a Fairy Loot choice, so I held off on buying it, and I'm so happy to own it now. And hopefully I can get to it this month. We shall see. And that is all that I have for my April TBR. We'll see how it goes. I know it's super ambitious. There's a lot of books I'm so excited to get to, and I probably won't be able to get to all of these. I love fantasy so much, but unfortunately it is one of the more time-consuming genres to read because you have to like absorb all the world building and the characters and the dynamics. It's a lot, but I love it. It's my favorite genre, so I'm hoping this will be a great month for fantasy reads. Let me know down below what I should start with. If you've read any of those books and you recommend them, please let me know. I'm a little overwhelmed. I don't know where to start, but I'm like equally excited about all of these. It's hard to like choose just one at a time, but we will try. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And as always, have a lovely day.